There's a reason why some people seem to grow rapidly, while others stay stuck year after year. It's not luck, it's not who they know, and it's not because they were born with more talent. It's because they've learned how to master one very simple but powerful habit: intentional daily review. It might sound basic, but don't be fooled. This is the habit that separates those who wish from those who win. What does intentional daily review mean? It means that every single day before the world gets loud or after the world quiets down, you take a few moments to reflect on the day. Not casually, not vaguely, not with a passing thought while brushing your teeth, but with intention. You sit down, you think, you observe your own behavior, your choices, your actions, your words. You ask yourself clear questions. What did I do today that I'm proud of? What did I do today that wasted my time? What did I say yes to that I should have said no to? What moved me forward? What held me back? It's not about judging yourself. It's not about guilt. It's about awareness. Because without awareness, you can't improve. And without improvement, you stay stuck in the same cycle. If you don't know what you're doing wrong, how can you possibly do it right? Most people live their lives on autopilot. They wake up, go through the motions, respond to problems, do what's urgent, not what's important, and they fall asleep hoping tomorrow will be different. But hope isn't a strategy. If you want to change the direction of your life, you need to change the direction of your days. And that begins with reviewing those days. Now, here's why this habit is so powerful. Small adjustments lead to massive results if they're made consistently. Let's say you wasted 30 minutes scrolling on your phone today. Not a big deal, right? But if you do that every day, that's over 180 hours in a year. That's 4.5 full-time work weeks gone vanished. But if you catch it today, reflect on it tonight, and correct it tomorrow, you've just saved yourself hundreds of hours that can be used to build something meaningful. When you review your day, you catch the leaks early. You catch the excuses. You catch the behaviors that quietly sabotage your potential. And more importantly, you catch the things that worked, the conversations that mattered, the actions that got results, the mindset that gave you clarity. You can double down on what works and remove what doesn't. That's how progress compounds. Think of it like a pilot flying an airplane. They don't wait until they're thousands of miles off course to make a correction. They check in constantly, on direction, on altitude, on weather. That's how they stay on track. Life is no different. You don't end up in the wrong destination overnight. It's small daily drift, and it's the daily review that pulls you back on course. The best part, it takes 10 minutes. Not hours, not complicated journals. Just you, your mind, maybe a notepad, and some truth. 10 minutes of real reflection is worth more than 10 hours of blind effort. Because effort in the wrong direction doesn't bring results. It just brings exhaustion. You might be thinking, I already think about my day. But thinking isn't reviewing. Thinking is passive. Reviewing is active. Reviewing is deliberate. Reviewing is a meeting with yourself. And you never miss important meetings, do you? Well, this is the most important one you'll ever have, because it's the one that decides your growth. When you make this habit a non-negotiable, something shifts. You begin to see your patterns. You begin to see your strengths. You begin to catch your weak spots before they become problems. You stop guessing and start knowing. You stop hoping and start planning. And you begin to take control of your progress in a way that feels powerful, not accidental. Most people are so busy doing that they forget to stop and ask, is what I'm doing even working? But the ones who rise fast, the ones who build momentum, the ones who seem to leap ahead of everyone else, they're not working harder. They're reviewing more often, they're adjusting faster, they're removing friction daily, and that's what makes the difference. This habit, intentional daily review, isn't flashy. It won't make headlines. You won't get applause for it. But it's the secret move behind every successful result. It's the check-in that keeps you sharp. It's the mirror that tells the truth. It's the tracker that keeps you aligned. You don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to do it consistently. There's something almost magical about a habit that creates awareness. Not the kind of awareness you get from reading a book or listening to a lecture, but the kind that comes from seeing yourself clearly, without filters, without noise, and without excuses. The intentional daily review works because it turns on the light, and when the lights are on, it's hard to ignore the mess. But more importantly, it's hard to ignore the progress. That's where transformation begins. You can't improve what you don't notice. You can't change what you never stop to examine. This habit works because it forces you to look at your behavior with honesty. Most people drift through life avoiding reflection. They distract themselves. They keep moving, thinking that movement means progress. But movement without awareness is often just motion without meaning. You end up busy but not effective. You confuse activity with achievement, and over time that confusion builds frustration. Awareness is the first key. When you review your day, even for just 10 minutes, you begin to see your patterns. You start to understand where your energy goes. You begin to identify what triggers your distractions, what feeds your motivation, and what derails your momentum. That kind of clarity doesn't come by accident. It comes from making it a priority to pause and ask, what actually happened today? Most people think awareness is just thinking about what they want in life, but awareness isn't wishful thinking. It's a clear, focused observation of what you did, not what you hoped to do, not what you planned to do, but what actually got done. And sometimes that reflection is uncomfortable. Sometimes you realize you wasted time. Sometimes you see that you let fear stop you from making that phone call, sending that email, taking that next step. That discomfort, that's fuel, that's power, because now you have something real to work with. The second key is correction. Awareness alone is not enough. If all you do is notice your mistakes, but you don't adjust, nothing changes. But the moment you pair awareness with correction, everything begins to shift. This habit works because it closes the loop. You reflect on what didn't work today, and then you ask, how can I do it better tomorrow? That question asked consistently leads to massive results over time. It's like aiming a bow and arrow. If you're off target, you don't throw the bow away. You adjust your aim. You correct your posture. You try again. Each time you review, you're adjusting your aim. Maybe you realize you're spending too much time on things that don't matter. Maybe you catch yourself avoiding the work that actually leads to results. Maybe you see how you let a small setback ruin your mindset for the entire day. These are small insights, but they lead to big shifts, because the sooner you course correct, the faster you move in the right direction. Most people wait too long to make adjustments. They wait until the project fails. They wait until the relationship breaks down. They wait until they're exhausted, burned out, fed up. But by then, the damage is already done. What makes the daily review so powerful is that it gives you a chance to correct early, before the problem grows. You don't wait for a breakdown to make a breakthrough. You review, you correct, you improve, and the third key is focus. This habit sharpens your mind like nothing else. When you review your day, you start to get serious about what matters. You begin to see where you're being pulled in too many directions. You recognize what's essential and what's just noise. And as you eliminate the noise, your focus becomes fierce. And when your focus sharpens, so do your results. You only get so much energy in a day. You only get so many hours. You only get so many chances to put your best effort forward. When you're unfocused, you waste those chances. But when you reflect daily, you start each day with clarity. You know what to protect. You know what to pursue. You know what to avoid. That level of focus separates the high performers from the average ones. A person who reflects with purpose each day doesn't just stumble into success. They build it piece by piece, choice by choice, correction by correction. They don't guess their way forward. They move with intention. They operate with precision because they've seen what doesn't work. They've recognized the distractions. They've learned where their time leaks, and now they're choosing differently. And here's the truth. Consistent focus creates consistent results. Not chaotic bursts of inspiration, not random lucky moments, but steady, focused progress. This habit works because it keeps your goals in sight. It keeps your weaknesses exposed. It keeps your discipline alive. Every night you reflect, you build a little more strength. Every time you correct, you build a little more momentum. Every time you refocus, you take another step forward on purpose. There's a hidden reason why most people stay stuck where they are, why progress is so slow, and why so many dreams fade before they even get started. It's not because they aren't talented. It's not because they don't want it bad enough. It's not even because they don't work hard. The real problem is simpler and far more dangerous. Most people never reflect, so they never improve. They don't take the time to pause, to look back, to ask themselves the hard questions that create growth. And because of that, they keep repeating the same day over and over again, expecting different results that never come. Improvement isn't automatic. Just doing something over and over doesn't mean you're getting better at it. In fact, if you keep repeating the wrong approach, you're just getting better at being ineffective. Think about that. You can spend years doing the same thing and never move an inch forward, all because you never stopped to check if the direction was right in the first place. That's the silent trap most people fall into. Busy but not better, moving but not mastering, trying but not transforming. When you don't reflect, you miss the lesson. Every day is full of experiences that are trying to teach you something. Success leaves clues, failure leaves fingerprints, but you'll only catch those clues if you look for them. You'll only see the patterns if you stop long enough to observe them. Without reflection, life becomes a blur of events with no understanding. You go from one thing to the next without absorbing the meaning. Without reflection, even your biggest wins can slip by unnoticed, and your greatest mistakes can become habits you never break. Most people avoid reflection because it's uncomfortable. It requires honesty. It forces you to confront what you're avoiding. It puts a spotlight on your excuses, your wasted time, your missed opportunities, and that can sting. So instead, people distract themselves. They keep moving fast, thinking if they don't slow down, they won't have to feel the weight of what they're not doing. But growth doesn't happen in the rush. Growth happens in the pause. Growth happens when you look back and ask, what worked? What didn't? Why? What needs to change? The world around you won't encourage reflection. Everything is built for speed, for distraction, for noise. Notifications, deadlines, social media, obligations, all pulling your attention away from the one thing that can truly change your life: awareness. The habit of daily review is your defense against that chaos. It's your way to reclaim control over your mind, your time, and your direction. Without it, you're at the mercy of momentum that doesn't serve you. There's also a false belief that reflection is only for when things go wrong. People think, I'll stop and think when I hit a wall, or I'll review things once I mess up badly, but that thinking is backwards. You don't wait until the ship is sinking to check for holes. You don't wait for burnout to ask if your priorities are out of order. You don't wait until everything is falling apart to evaluate your system. That's reactive living, and reactive living is always more expensive than proactive adjustment. Improvement requires intention. It requires space to notice. You can't correct in a storm unless you've prepared when the waters were calm. And that preparation happens in those quiet, consistent moments of reflection. The reason most people never improve isn't because they don't care. It's because they never created the habit that gives them the truth. Without truth, there's no direction. Without direction, there's no progress. And without progress, frustration grows. Motivation fades. Confidence disappears. And pretty soon, people give up not because they weren't capable, but because they stayed blind to their own potential. Many people confuse experience with growth. Just because you've done something for 10 years doesn't mean you're better at it. Growth isn't automatic with time. Growth is only automatic when you reflect on that time, learn from it, and apply the lessons. 1 year of focused reflection is worth 10 years of busy repetition. But most never experience that kind of acceleration because most never take the time to stop and ask, what's really going on here? And then there's another problem. People rely too much on motivation. They think motivation will carry them forward. But motivation is temporary. It's emotion, it fades. What lasts is clarity, and clarity comes from reflection. When you know exactly why you're doing what you're doing, and you see where you're going off track, you don't need hype. You need awareness. The person who reflects doesn't need more willpower. They have insight. They have data. They have direction, and that's far more powerful than temporary excitement. The harsh truth is that life doesn't reward movement. It rewards mastery. It rewards direction. It rewards adjustment. And adjustment only happens when you reflect. When you live without reflection, you live without correction. And when you live without correction, you stay stuck, even if you're working hard. The problem isn't that people are lazy. It's that they're moving fast in circles, mistaking the motion for momentum. When you build the habit of intentional daily review, the results begin to show up in ways that are hard to ignore. You start to experience something most people are chasing constantly but never quite catch: momentum. Real, steady, unstoppable momentum. And not the kind that comes once in a while, by chance, or when circumstances are perfect. This is momentum you create on purpose, by choice, every single day. Because reviewing your day, correcting your course, and sharpening your focus gives you an edge. It accelerates your growth, clears your vision, and eliminates the clutter that slows down most people. Faster results don't come from doing more. They come from doing the right things with precision. When you reflect on your day consistently, you cut out the guesswork. You no longer wonder where your time went, or why your energy feels drained, or why your results don't match your effort. You know because you've studied yourself, you've tracked your actions, you've spotted the waste, the distractions, the energy leaks. And the moment you see what isn't working, you have the power to fix it. That's how results speed up. Think about how much time is lost simply by not knowing what's working. Most people spend days, weeks, even months doing something that never brings them closer to their goal, not because they are lazy, but because they never checked. They just assumed. They followed the routine. They kept going, and in doing so, they kept falling behind. But the person who reviews daily, they don't guess. They measure, they ask, did today move me forward? And if the answer is no, they make changes immediately before the gap gets wider. This process gives you a sense of power that most people never feel. It's the power of being in control of your own improvement. You're no longer waiting for feedback from the world. You're not depending on luck or hoping that eventually something will click. You are constantly adjusting, refining, and improving day by day, moment by moment. That's how progress becomes inevitable. Not dramatic, not flashy, but steady, consistent, and fast. Better clarity is the next benefit, and it's one of the most underrated advantages of this habit. Clarity isn't just about knowing your goals. It's about knowing what's in the way. It's about understanding your own patterns of thought and behavior. When you reflect each day, you begin to notice what triggers your distractions, what habits lead to energy crashes, what environments help you thrive, and what situations pull you away from your best. This level of self-knowledge is a weapon. Because once you know yourself, you know exactly how to manage your time, your emotions, and your focus. Clarity also removes emotional fog. Sometimes you have a day where everything feels off, and you can't quite explain why. But when you sit down and review the day, piece by piece, the fog lifts. You remember the moments that drained you. You spot the decision you delayed. You see how one choice triggered a chain reaction that threw off your rhythm. That awareness gives you power to fix it the next day. Without it, you just carry the fog forward confused, frustrated, and reactive. But with clarity, you move into the next day sharper, calmer, and ready. The biggest shift, though, is in momentum. Most people wait for momentum to find them. They hope one productive day will roll into another. But momentum isn't something you wait for. It's something you build. And the daily review is how you build it. It's the spark that keeps the fire alive. Each day, when you reflect and adjust, you're not starting over. You're building on yesterday. You're carrying forward lessons, progress, insight. That consistency compounds. It creates flow. And once you feel that flow, everything changes. Momentum isn't about perfection. It's about movement with direction. Even on the bad days, when things don't go right, when you slip, when you fall behind, the daily review saves you. It catches you, it pulls you back into alignment. Without that habit, a bad day turns into a bad week. But with it, a bad day becomes a lesson, and a lesson becomes fuel. That's how you turn setbacks into setups for stronger comebacks. And there's something else that happens when you begin to experience momentum. You begin to trust yourself. You start to believe in your own ability to stay on track. You no longer fear falling behind because you've built the habit that brings you back every time. That confidence doesn't come from external success. It comes from internal control. You've proven to yourself, day after day, that you're not just drifting. You're directing your growth, you're steering your own progress, and that quiet certainty becomes your biggest advantage. When others feel lost, you're clear. When others feel stuck, you're moving. When others are waiting for the right moment, you've already created it. Because the person who reflects daily doesn't need motivation from the outside. They've built discipline from the inside. They've found a rhythm that keeps them going, and that rhythm leads to faster results, better clarity, and unstoppable momentum. The most important step is not understanding the habit. It's not knowing why it works. It's not even seeing the results it can bring. The most important step is doing it right now, not later, not someday, not when the timing is better or life gets quieter. It begins with one decision. Start tonight. Make the commitment to yourself, just for the next 7 days. That's the challenge. 7 days of focused, intentional, honest review. Not a big promise, not a lifetime commitment. Just 7 days of showing up for yourself with yourself. That first night might feel awkward. You might sit there, pen in hand or thoughts in mind, and not know exactly what to say. That's okay. It's not about writing the perfect journal entry or crafting the most insightful conclusion. It's about being real. It's about asking the question, what did I do with my time today? And then listening to the answer. You might uncover moments where you did great things that went unnoticed. You might see gaps you didn't realize were holding you back. But the power is in the process, and the shift begins the moment you step into it. 7 days may not sound like much, but in those 7 days, your awareness will sharpen. On day 1, you'll be surprised by what you remember. By day 3, you'll start noticing your decisions while you're making them, not just when you reflect at night. By day 5, you'll begin to anticipate the review before the day ends. You'll begin to live with more intention, knowing you'll be sitting with those choices in just a few hours. And by day 7, you'll feel a rhythm, a new mental rhythm of accountability, clarity, and control. What happens in that 1 week is deeper than habit building. You start to reconnect with your time. You begin to take responsibility, not the kind that feels heavy, but the kind that feels empowering. You realize that your life isn't shaped by what you do once in a while, but by what you do every day. And if you're not watching those days, you're not steering your life. But when you are, the road opens up. Options appear, clarity sharpens, motivation turns into movement. You'll begin to feel the difference even in small things. The way you speak to people, the way you approach your goals, the way you react to setbacks. Because when you know you're reviewing everything at the end of the day, you carry yourself with more awareness during it. That's how people grow faster, because they're paying attention while they live. The daily review doesn't just change your nights. It changes your days. It gives your hours purpose. It makes you present alert and engaged. And make no mistake, this isn't about being perfect for 7 days. It's not about checking every box or producing some perfect productivity report. It's about honesty. If you wasted time, admit it. If you avoided the hard things, write that down. If you had a break through conversation, capture it. The point is not to perform. The point is to become more aware, to look at yourself not with criticism, but with curiosity. What's working? What's not? And what small change could make tomorrow better than today? Even in that short window of 7 days, the compound effect starts to work. One small insight leads to one small change. One change builds momentum. Momentum builds belief, and belief leads to more change. You're no longer sitting back, hoping things improve. You're participating in your progress. You're making growth a decision, not just a dream. And that's where the shift happens. Not in giant leaps, but in small, deliberate steps that you take every single day. People often wait for external permission to change. They think they need a course, a coach, a breakthrough moment. But what they really need is a mirror, not just once, but every day. The daily review becomes that mirror. And the 7-day challenge becomes your starting line. It's a reset button, a chance to pause, zoom out, and re-engage with your life. Not in theory, but in practice. With your eyes open, with your hands on the wheel, you don't need to overhaul your schedule. You don't need to announce it to anyone. Just set aside 10 minutes, quiet space, no distractions. Ask yourself the questions that matter, and write down what you find, not because anyone else will read it, but because you need to see it. You need to see who you're becoming. You need to know what you're choosing, because over time, that's what builds your future, not the goals you talk about, not the dreams you post about, but the habits you do when no one is watching. 7 days of reflection creates a different level of control over your mindset, your time, and your focus. It separates you from the average. It pulls you out of the noise, and it puts you in the driver's seat of your own growth. Every day you show up for yourself. Every night you learn something. Every morning you move forward just a little bit sharper than the day before. And before long, you're no longer hoping for momentum. You're carrying it. The difference between those who grow and those who stay stuck isn't always talent, timing, or resources. It's awareness. It's intention. It's the quiet, consistent commitment to paying attention to your own life. One small habit, done daily, has the power to transform everything. When you take just 10 minutes to reflect, you step out of the blur and into clarity. You stop reacting and start directing. You stop guessing and start adjusting. Success isn't built in loud moments. It's built in the quiet ones, the ones where no one's watching, but you're still showing up. The daily review is that quiet moment. It's where you realign, refocus, and remember what you're here to do. And when you do it consistently, you don't just get results, you multiply them. You 10x them, not someday, but today, starting with one habit, one review, one decision to live with intention.